Hey, you guys. Thanks for joining me here today. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. So I'll put up the countdown and I'll see you very soon. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Give me a one in chat real quick. If you guys can hear me, just let me know for sure that I am on. Had an issue with my mic on the last one, and it's kind of making me a little self conscious. But I appreciate you guys being on here. All right. Let me just get my screen ready to share. All right. In today's live, YouTube live, whatever you call this thing that we're all here doing, appreciate you guys joining me. Today, I'm going to continue on what we've talked about in the past couple weeks, which is how to build a custom widget on BigCommerce. I'm going to build a different one out today. And if this is your first time seeing one of these, I'm sure you guys are a BigCommerce store owner or running a store or something on BigCommerce at this point if you're watching this. And I appreciate you guys joining me. BigCommerce's customizer is quite good. The things that you can do with it are pretty awesome if you know how to leverage it. The native widgets that BigCommerce put out with their customizer are not amazing. They're good starts. It was an initial inspiration, but I believe BigCommerce had the intention at the beginning for companies like mine and you and me to go out there and build cool things with their customizer. It's kind of like they gave us the raw building blocks and said, here, how, uh, here, build something with this. And that's what you can do with it. Like that's literally what the page builder or the customizer is for. It's about building your site, making it more visual. And there's so much that you can do with it, especially if you have custom widgets on your site. Now, there's a couple different ways to get custom widgets built. First of all, you can build them, from scratch using code and push them in with a tool like Postman straight through the API. That's a lot for a lot of people. And even if you are super familiar with Postman and you use it all the time, it still it still takes a lot of time and you have to have keys that you set up. And so there's a lot of steps to it, even if you know what you're doing. Um, there is a GitHub repo out there that is supposed to make it easier for you to build a widget, but it's still going to require you to issue API keys and go through the API in order to push that in. Because what you're doing is you're building a snippet of code outside of BigCommerce and you're pushing it in through their API and saying, I want to make this building block available in my store, which is really cool. It's just a lot of work. Now, my company came out with a app that you can find published in the BigCommerce App Store. It's called Epic Page Builder Widgets. There is free stuff you can do with it, and there is stuff that you can do with it behind a $50 one-time payment. And what I'm going to cover today is how to build a widget with it. But with that $50, there's also a ton of widgets that you get that are already pre-built for you to use. And there's a lot of widgets that you can get out of the app without paying for anything. There's like 10 or 12 widgets I think that you can get on the free side. So, there's a lot of widgets in there. There's a couple other widget apps that can give you more widgets on BigCommerce. There's just so many widgets. So, why would you even need a custom widget? Well, having built a lot of widgets and having built a lot of stores and played around with custom widgets and pre-made widgets, and that's a lot of times saying widgets. There's there's a couple different types of widgets, and I'm gonna put out a couple names here. Number one, I would say there's native widgets, right? Those are what BigCommerce gives you. They're not great. There is what I'm going to call production widgets, which are widgets that have been made to be used by a lot of people, like a factory, right? And that's what you get with our Page Builder Widgets app is you get a bunch of production widgets. The good thing about production widgets is they don't cost you anything because, I mean, well, next to nothing because we built them out and now thousands of people are using them and we're not charging 1,000 people to build them, right? We're just charging one time for the app and that's it. But the drawback of production widgets is when we build a production widget, we have to build so many little options in there that it's going to make thousands of people happy that use it. Because if there's an option that people are missing that they think should be there, man, they're going to be all bent out of shape. And so when we build a production widget, we can end up putting, hundreds of little checkboxes and options and things into it. And there's a lot of complexity. Now, for you, the store owner or the store operator, the nice thing about this is you can make these widgets do whatever you want. But the drawback of this is if you're going to use this widget on 10, 20, 30, 50 pages, that's a lot of settings because you're going to have to set it each time that you use this widget. And that is a serious drawback if you're going to use it a lot. And it also increases the chances of getting some inconsistencies in your design because you might not set the same exact settings when you use it on a different page. So the third type of widget, I'm just going to call it a custom widget. This is something that's bespoke and built for one individual store. Now, you can build a custom widget that does the same thing as a production widget, and I'm going to do that today. The nice thing about custom widgets over production widgets is that they're built for the exact situation. So they don't need to have the extra 100 options or flags or anything like that. You can strip it down to just the extreme basic choices and make it so that you or your client, if you're another developer, can just drag it in on a page and put the content in and it looks right already. It doesn't have to do 100 different things. It just has to be on brand. And by using these widgets that are already custom built, already on brand when you drag it in, oh, it's so much easier for the store owner because there's nothing to do except put in the content. If you have a custom accordion like the one we built last week or whenever my last live was, I can't remember. Um, you can just drag that in, start putting FAQ questions in on every single page and focus more on the content and less on fighting the widgets for, settings choices. Oh, itchy nose. That's how you know this is alive. Okay, so custom widgets are super cool. I'm a huge fan of it, even though we've built all these production widgets that you guys can use. By all means, use them. Use them for one-offs. But if you're going to have like the same hero on 20, 30, 50 pages on your site, it's really nice to have it custom made exactly to what you need so that it's on brand and it's really quick, and not just heroes, but other types of elements too. All right. Um, Customizing the widget, the flow of doing this is here's how I do it. I create the HTML for the widget and I put it all there on the single page, including the CSS I'm going to use and the HTML. And I put it so it's all in one chunk so that I can copy it easily into the custom widget builder, which I will show you now. Let me share my screen. Oh, I should have had this set up. By the way, feel free to stop me and ask questions along the way. If you're just joining us, to sum it all up, we are building a custom widget today. We are going to build an image gallery specifically is what we're building. Let's see. Is it up yet? No, it's not up. All right. Wrong screen. Here we go. So I've got the code. I've got the code here that we're going to widgetize. And again, I always build these out ahead of time. I don't build them on the live calls because you guys don't need to see me code basic features, but I think it is good to be able to see somebody convert something into a widget from established code, right? So the cool part isn't building these. The cool part is widgetizing them. That's what we're going to do. And so this is what the image gallery looks like. Apologies, there's other stuff on the page that's kind of distracting from from past videos. But this is the widget here that we're going to convert. So these three images, they have captions underneath it. I'll show you guys the code so that you can see kind of what I do. So I always just do this on the home page on a demo store so that I can see it real quick and easily right on the home page, and I don't have to do much to check it out and see how it's working. So you can see I have the style here. I have a style block. I have my styles. You want to not use nested CSS. You want to use individual lines, and you want everything to really like target the full the full structure. So I have the outer div, which is going to become an inner div when I paste it in. I have the UL, I have the LI, I have the image, and then right down here below it doesn't have to be below, it could be above. It's just how I did it today. I have the HTML structure, right? So I have a div surrounding it, followed by an unordered list, followed by list items. In each list item, I have this content surrounded by an anchor. And then I have an image, and then I have a span. I surrounded it with the anchor so I could make the whole block clickable. Not a big deal. Then I just copied the same thing 3 different times so that we could envision it on the screen, which we have. All right, so we're going to convert this into a widget. Let me, I should have logged in here. Let me log in real quick, and then we will get widgeting. Do you guys have any questions for me so far, by the way? If you're just joining me, today we're going to build a custom BigCommerce widget, specifically an image gallery. I'll show you guys how it works. All right. Share my screen again. Boom. I'm in the corner. All right. So this is a sandbox. And if we go into, let's see here, I'm going to go into apps. I'm going to go into the Epic Page Builder Widgets app, which again is our app. It's currently $50 one time. Price is going to go up at the end of the year, though, just saying. It's not going to go up that much, though. All right, when you come in here, there's a configuration screen where you can see all the widgets that you can load into your store, which is cool. But we're looking for the Create Widget screen. And when you come in here, if you're on multi-store, first of all, you choose a storefront. If you're not on multi-store, it'll just say choose a storefront. And there's only one to choose from, which is your current store. Beyond that, you can select a starter. Now, this is us just giving you some, a head start in building this. We've built out several of these. We're going to get rid of a couple of them. But for the most part, you want to just decide if you want to start with a tab style custom widget or an array style. Now, the difference is that a tab is very preset in the types of content that it allows you to put in. An array lets you create an array of content within it, right? So an image gallery where you want to display one image, two images, five images, 20 images. This is what the difference between an array and a tab is. In a tab, you would say you can say you can input three images, and it's built for three images, no more, no less. With an array, you can say put in your images, and however many you choose to put in is how many get added to the array. So obviously, if we're building an image gallery that can hold more than two or three or four images, that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to choose general array. This is a general widget. It's an array. And when you do that, you can come down here, and first of all, it'll let you, this is a new feature. You guys are the first ones seeing it. It'll let you import or export this widget, which will basically just download a JSON that you can use to easily import it on a different store, for example. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to say this is called the image gallery, and I'm going to just put a date on it just because I have a lot of custom widgets in this store, and I want to keep track of it really easily. So I'm going to call this image gallery 120823. And right down here, you can see that there is a block here for the template editor, and it's got styles in it, and it's got a some HTML structure. And then underneath that is the widget schema. The widget schema is where you are communicating to BigCommerce what the choices, what the inputs should be for that array, for the widget. This first section is like the overall setup for it. And so an array, you tell it what the array of items is called, how many, or here what the name is that you're going to iterate over, how many you want to be in there by default. So I'm going to just leave it as 3, but you can make that be something else. This is some information here about the tab content that goes with it. So in a tab widget, you'll see this by looking at the general tab. You basically have a couple tabs that you can put in. In an array, you can have a tab and an array. And so I'm going to just leave all this stuff as it is so we can see how it looks. Down here, we have this this design tab, and here's where we have some additional content that gets put in. And I'm going to just click save. This isn't a GraphQL widget that we're building today, so I'm not going to open this. But if you were going to build a GraphQL widget, hint, hint, you can do GraphQL with our widgets app. That'll be in a future video. So I did click update. Let's go ahead and look at it on the store to see what it looks like already. So I'm going to just go into the customizer. I'm going to discard this. In fact, I'm going to delete that so we don't have to keep staring at it. I'm going to just clean my room here real quick. Jeez. Okay. Oh, I didn't put it on the page yet. Let me put it on the page. So I'm going to just scroll down here in the custom widget section, and yeah, you can see I have a whole bunch. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and it's usually the most bottom one that we just loaded. And so I'm going to just drag it on the page, and it says 120823. So this is our widget app. This is our widget, and it's got some crazy looking text in it. It says sample heading. This is sample text. This is sample text. This is sample text. So that is unuseful, but we haven't done anything to it yet. So I'm going to click publish. So this is just the sample data that we have in there from the get-go just to get you started on this widget. What's nice about our starters is not only does it show you kind of how a gallery widget is lined out and give you an initial input so that you can kind of see how it works, but it's also got some settings built out. So in these array widgets, if you go up here to this 3 dots, then there's a settings button. And when you go into that, it goes into some settings that are across the whole widget. Now in the previous screen, you see the list items and you see an input, but this input is unique to each individual item. They're not like widget wide. So by coming up here into the settings, this is where we have some widget wide settings. Like I could have this heading put in there, and then there's some additional settings like being able to put in a background color, for example, or some margin, or some padding. And you can see on the screen here, I just gave it some margin and padding, and I gave it a nice gray background. And so, yeah, with our pre-made custom widgets that are in there, the starters, we wanted to give you guys like these margins and paddings and max width, not only to show you kind of how inputs work, but also because we just think this is something that all widgets should have. And so even if you're building a custom widget, we're giving you a head start by just having some of the basics already in there. Now you can strip it out if you like. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I'm trying to give you guys a head start. And that's what's cool about the starters. I'm really excited about them. We use these starters on our own client projects. So, like when we build out a custom site for somebody, we are not just hard coding everything, right? Because people hate that. They want to be able to edit their own content. So we hard code it and then we widgetize everything that's on the homepage, for example. Just like I'm showing you guys how we do this today, we're widgetizing all that stuff to make all of their content editable by the client, which is really, really cool. All right, so I'm going to go back in here. I left the page, so I got to go back into it by clicking Edit Widget and choosing the widget that we're building today. So that brings all my code back, and yeah, everything's there. So you can see this right here is where that heading was in the back end. And this tab down here is, I'm sorry, no, this isn't the heading. This is the actual array items, right? So this is the input that it's asking you within each array item. And then down here, this is where the settings are. So here's where the heading is right here. And here's where all the max width, the background color, the margins, all that kind of stuff is right down here. And it's kind of nice to be able to see it, because if you need to repeat any of the stuff, like if you need to repeat a background color for for example, then you can just come down here and grab it really easily. All right, so what do we do next? We are going to go to my text, my content here that I pre-made for us, and we're going to copy this in. So I'm going to take that uh, the whole style block as well as the block of HTML. I'm going to just copy it all. And I'm going to copy it right into, I always do it right here in the middle between the style and the HTML. So let's do that. Okay. Now we have the new HTML as well as the old HTML, and we have the old styling as well as the new styling. All right. Now, we don't want to get rid of the old styling because this is what is giving us all that default stuff that's pretty cool. So we want to keep this, but we want to end up bridging all this stuff together. And same thing down here. We're going to get rid of this, but uh, we want this to basically be the new version of this. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to point out here that we have some nice like classes and stuff that you can just leave in here. These might be something that you use eventually, or maybe not at all. But I would just leave those in there and actually take the HTML that we pasted in and paste it right into the inside of that div and just make it match. So now this whole HTML block that we're working with is contained within a div with a class of block underline ID. Now, the underline ID, where the ID itself is going to give us a unique ID that's going to be different for every widget that you make, right? So this widget is the only one that's going to have this exact ID. And so that means that by putting our code inside of a div with a unique class like that, if we target this block underline ID on all of our CSS, then our CSS is going to be narrowed down to just the content within this block, which is really good. What we found out real quickly when we started making widgets for people is that we could give them settings, but because we didn't encapsulate those CSS changes to just the current unique, just the current block using a unique identifier like this, that it would escape the block and then we'd have styling conflict with other blocks, right? And it was hard to narrow it down. And it all came down to we just needed to wrap the HTML content into something that's unique and then add that unique identifier to all the CSS that we had done. So here's what we'll do next is we're going to take that block ID and we're just going to go to every line that we copied in for our new styles, and we're just going to add that. Now I'm also going to fix this indenting because it's just going to drive me crazy. So let's fix that. And so I'm just going to go down every single line and put that in and fix that tabbing. Do you guys have any questions so far while I'm doing my OCD tabbing? Feel free to throw them up for me. Have you guys built a custom widget before? Are you guys, how about this? Are you guys developers or are you guys store owners? Oh, man, what happened here? So this one didn't have anything in it, so that's weird. Are you guys being shy today? Giant H asks, have you switched away from slick carousel to any other? I'm not sure what Embla or Owl is. I've switched away from carousels completely. I never put carousels into anything unless somebody really wants. Now, if I don't like carousels for homepage heroes for sure, 100%. It's going to decrease your conversions 99% of the time. There's lots of studies out there. Now, I do still use carousels like for logo carousels and image carousels. So if you wanted to make something like this that we're doing today into a carousel, you could use a third-party carousel if you like, but you know what? Normally, we just do stick to the slick carousel, and we will use our own like settings and stuff with it instead of just like the default. And the reason is that BigCommerce loads the slick carousel no matter what you want, no matter what you do. So we like to just use what's there if possible in order to not add any overhead, you know? All right. Did I get all that stuff right? So block ID, block ID, block ID. You notice a couple different things. Number one, every line of CSS we're putting that block ID in front of so that no CSS in here targets anything outside of here. Secondly, you see a lot of these importance. And that's because if you don't put importance, then it's really common for your theme to potentially have something that overrides what's in the plugin. And so, as gross as it is, like I never use importance pretty much unless I'm building a custom widget. And then it is very recommended because your theme will try and override it depending on how your CSS is. And we put out a lot of widgets that worked fine on one person's store and not so much on somebody else's store. Oh, by the way, welcome Alex. Oh yeah, welcome Giant. Welcome Rick. Yeah. Rick says he switched away from anything that uses too much JavaScript too. Yeah, I mean, we end up building image sliders, image carousels, logo carousels, and stuff like that for clients because people still want them. I do my best to try and talk them out of anything like that above the fold. But sometimes like having like a text carousel in your top bar for your messages that are up there, especially on mobile, it can be all right. Um, I don't use jQuery ever. So if I'm gonna build it with JavaScript, I build it with vanilla JavaScript, so it's at least not requiring any heavy libraries. I never use things like Font Awesome or anything like that. So if I use JavaScript, it's gonna be vanilla. But for the most part, there's so much that you can do without it. And I would rather see something like a transition on the page, like something kind of delaying load or kind of moving a little bit as you load. Although I don't love that either, but I'd rather see that than a carousel if you want to just make something feel jazzed up. Um, Giant says, "Hey Rick, I don't know if you guys can see each other's comments, but hey Rick, how do you display your product images on a mobile product page?" I like it. I like the discourse. Um, a lot of ways to do it. We'll see what Rick says. Rick says, I use the default responsive image template from Cornerstone. You know, the Cornerstone product page template does use Slick, and you can change how it works. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to do it, but you can make it, you can make it so that it's like side thumbnail navigation or horizontal navigation, which is default. You can change a lot, or you could unslick it at certain levels. And unslicking it's kind of cool because you can make it so that it retains the product gallery. Uh, the product gallery slickness of it, right? Where you have the images that you click on, say on mobile, but then on desktop, maybe you unslick it so it doesn't carousel at all, and it just like stacks the images vertically. That's becoming more and more used, this stuff like that. All right. All right, I'm going to keep going. You guys keep chatting and ask questions if you have them. All right, so what we've done so far is we have I just clicked save accidentally. That's not what I wanted to do. So we have basically moved all of our HTML and CSS in here. We've put block IDs on all of our lines of CSS and put our HTML inside the block wrapper. And oh yeah, pro tip, save often, because if you mess up anything, then it won't say widget updated successfully. You might have to backtrack. Um, this HTML is it's got to be done right. The JSON, you can't break the JSON. So just trust me, just update frequently, because if you make a mistake, if you get a bracket out of alignment or whatever, it is so much nicer just to have to backtrack one step instead of 10. Okay, let's come back here and see how it looks now. All right, you can see that here in the customizer, after refreshing, we're seeing our blocks, we're seeing our captions, and we're also seeing the old garbage, the sample headings and the sample text, sample text, sample text. And that's because that's what is still outputting here at the bottom of our HTML, right down here. And we're still asking these questions. So we're still asking people to give us heading text. So what we need to do is, first of all, let's change this sample text to be called caption. And we're going to change the ID of it to caption. This needs to be lowercase with no spaces. And I'm going to call this is my caption as the default text. Now, this is going to break something here because we're not outputting, or we're not inputting the heading that we're trying to output anymore. So I'm going to just go ahead and delete the heading. And I'm going to take that caption ID and I'm going to put it in here in the first list item by doing open bracket, caption, close bracket. And this isn't going to work, but I'm going to go ahead and save it anyway. And I'm going to delete this and then re-add it. So the defaults, when you put in a default, it only applies when you first create it. So once I save this widget, if I change the default on like the widget controls, it's not going to change my default because this has already basically been saved, right? So I wanted to get fresh default text in there. If my mic cuts out at any point, by the way, somebody squawk for me because it's been just like cutting out randomly. Okay. Yeah, Rick says, "Ooh, it's got a picture of you, Rick. That's nice." It says, "As long as you can use pure CSS as long as it still uses responsive images so that it picks the best image quality based on the device a user is using." That's right. BigCommerce uses CDN, and the CDN creates multiple versions of every product page image that you upload so that it can load the browser responsive size. So instead of loading a 2K image, if you need a small image like on a product card, it'll load like a 3 or 400K image or 300, 400 byte image, pixel image. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's click into our widget. And I don't know if it actually got updated. Let me refresh again. All right, dragged it out, dragged it back in. You can see now where this said like sample text previously, now it says caption and it says this is my caption. However, I typed the same text, so you can't really tell except that the C is lowercase to let you see that this isn't actually plugged into that. So we need to plug it in. And so here's what we got to do next is we got to actually put our content in the loop. And what is a loop? A loop is when code iterates over an array and says, I'm going to go through everything in here. I'm going to go through each of these items, and then I'm going to take the stuff that's contained within those items and output that. And so that's what's happening here on the old text is it goes through each items, which each one of these items is in the items array. And then it says, I'm going to take the item input and output that. So we actually want that to say caption. So if I changed this right here to caption, then it's going to loop over each item, create a list item out of it, and apply the text that's in the caption field. All right. So what we actually want to do is we want to change our code to include the loop in it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go inside the unordered list and we're going to just copy this right into here. So now what it's going to do is when it gets to the URL, it's going to loop through the items. And we're going to delete these two guys because we don't need 3 list items to be created for every list item that's in the array. So now it's going to say loop over the list items or loop over the array, and for each item in the array, each image, right? Go ahead and create a list item. Now I know this might be codey, and a lot of my videos are not codey at all. I know that a lot of people that are watching this are probably going to be developers. If you're a store owner and this is way over your head, you know, what I want you to take away is that this stuff is possible and it's not super, super hard if you have the right tool. But your developers can do this. And if they can't, come see me. But chances are they probably can with this tool and with this video. So if this is way over your head, just give this video to whoever's needs to build custom widgets for you and say, do this. Now, this video only goes over how to do an array widget. There's also tab widgets, and I have other videos for those too. But no matter what, we got you covered. All right, so we've taken out the loop that we were using down here. So I'm actually going to just delete that out, and I'm going to delete this sample text guy out too. So what do we have left? We have our outer widget. I'm sorry, our outer div. We have our inner div. We have our unordered list inside of that. And then we're looping over each of the items to create a list item for each one. Inside the list item, we have an anchor, an anchor link, a link anchor. And inside that anchor, we have an image and we have our span, which is our caption. All right, let's save this and see how she looks. Go back to our Page Builder tab. Okay, it's looking better, right? We don't have all the extra garbage here at the bottom. And oh, we still don't have the caption happening. So let's go back and hopefully you guys don't hear all that screaming in the background. I do have a 4-year-old and he's delightful. And he only screams when I'm doing a YouTube live. So that's how life works. All right, coming back up to here. So as we go through each of these list items, we are looking at this and saying, here's the caption. Did we do everything right here? It's definitely called caption. All right, let me think about this for just 1 second here. All right. I don't know if you guys have ever tried having a 4-year-old. It can be a little bit noisy. Well, while I think about this caption, I'm going to add a second field in here, and I'm going to call this link, and I'm going to type URL in as the ID. And I'm going to take out the default altogether. So now it's just going to be blank until you put in a URL. And let's go ahead and try putting that URL in here where the link is exposed, just like that. Open, open, URL, close, close. Second. Okay, let's go back to the page builder, refresh. You guys have any more questions? Be sure to throw them in here as you have them, or if I'm going too fast or too slow, tell me to hurry up. Let's put in slash categories and click preview. All right. You guys can see here that when I hover over, it's showing slash categories at the bottom. Or if I click inspect, then you can see here's the slash categories. And because we left it blank, there's no default, then on these, then all right, how about now? Can you guys hear me now? Live is awesome. Hit a one if you guys can hear me now. How about now? I like your 0, Rick. Give me a 2 if you guys can hear me now. Anything. I think you guys can hear me now. I'm seeing it light up. So I'm gonna assume that you guys can hear me now. Can you hear me now? I have this perfect. Yeah, I got this app called Crisp, and it's worked great for like background noise removal on my mics for so long. And for whatever reason, about 2 weeks ago, it just fails randomly. I don't know what's going on with it. All right, where did I leave you? You had asked about responsive images. And yeah, I'm not sure if you can use responsive images, like if source set will work with images right out the gate. I'll have to test that. Maybe we'll talk about that on the next one. I am pretty sure if you can't, then you should be able to get them through GraphQL. But I'll get back to you guys with a firm answer on that for sure. Also, the BigCommerce product widget like loads full-size images, and that's not good. Makes your page load go crazy. We're going to have a GraphQL based product picker widget here coming out in a couple weeks max. We've already got it built. We're just testing it. All right, let's get back to the widget and keep your questions coming. So we have slash category showed up. This is my caption still showing up, and I think I clicked published. Let's go back here and see what happens if we take that URL here. What happens if we say if URL? Then let's say there is a URL. We'll put that in the middle. Let me give it a p tag. I just can't stand to not do it. And let me put it under here where our other one is. All right. So let's see what happens now. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that my audio cut out, by the way. I think I'm getting rid of that app today is what I think. Let's see here. Where did our image gallery go? So we've done something that's broken the widget. So let's, first of all, did it save? It did save. But something's breaking it from coming onto the page, which usually means we have an errant bracket somewhere. So we got URL, if URL with 2 brackets. Oh. You guys probably saw this. I think you guys are coders. I had my closing if was a closing URL, and it wasn't actually closing. Jeez, what is going on with me? All right, so we have if URL closing if. Jeez, it's my first day. What can I say? All right, let's refresh. Okay, so within that if statement, we said if URL is true or if URL is present, then go ahead and show what's in the middle. And so you can see that it outputted this is a URL, right? And we could say, we could put an else statement in there to say if else, well, if else this is not a URL. Okay, so now it should say this is a URL if the URL is present, and then say this is not a URL if the URL is not present. All right. So when we refresh, we see this is a URL. This is the one that we put the link in. And on these other ones, item 2, well, let's see. We have a default in here somehow. I don't know how that happened. Oh, maybe because we need to delete this. Let's delete them and re-add them and see if they have a default. Huh, it is getting a default somehow. So defaults are kind of weird with the widgets. Like there is a default, but it doesn't necessarily count as existing until you actually type something in, which is why I just didn't want to have a default. Let me go back here and see what happened. Maybe I need to add a default and just leave it blank. Let's try that and see what happens. No matter what, like the input isn't really set until you actually save something in that field. So let's try and delete these again and see what happens. All right, so now input 2 has nothing in there as a default. And the validation here in the if statement says the first one has a URL, the second one doesn't, the third one doesn't. So if I go to the second one and type in /about, now it says there is a URL. Now, why the heck are we doing this? It's because you may want to consider using if statements to escape certain things out. So within these list items, we have an anchor, but if there's no URL, then you end up with an anchor and an href that just doesn't have a value. And when you do that, you know, something like this that doesn't have a link attached to it, you can see the hand change like it's supposed to be clickable when you click in, when you hover over it. That will drive some people crazy. And so you can use this if statement to get rid of the anchor altogether by surrounding the anchor start and stop with it, right? So here's what we got. I'm going to just copy this out now. And I'm going to take out the content and just leave the structure so you guys can see. So we have if URL, and then this is where you would put an action in there that happens if the URL is present. And then we have or else, do this. But I don't actually need the or else, I just need the if URL. And where I'm going to put this is right in front of this anchor and right in front of the closing anchor. And then I need to take this closing if and put it at the end of here and the end of here. And so now this whole anchor and the URL inside of it only actually get put on the page if the URL exists in the first place. So if it doesn't, then you're just going to have a really clean list item with an image and a span underneath it with your caption in it. All right, so let's see here. Oh yeah, did our caption show up finally? Oh, it did, but it's on. We put the caption in on the second one. Okay. So let's go to the first one and say, this is my caption 1, 2, 3. There it is. So this is kind of the same issue that was happening. This is why it kind of stopped me there for a second. Why it looked like it should be outputting this is my caption, but it didn't. It's because this was put in there by default, and so it wasn't officially there until I had hit enter, basically, which is kind of weird. So let's come back here, and on this tab as well, I'm going to just get rid of the this is my caption and leave that as an empty default also. All right, did I lose anybody yet? Let me take a drink. Keep the questions coming, whatever you guys have. Looks like most people are joining us here on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys being active. What else do we need? Okay, we need an image input, and we have a link, we have a text, and yeah, let's do an image next. So let's go ahead and save this. And I want to show you guys why it's so nice that we have some starters here, because you can come down here to the documentation and look at the cheat sheet and look at all this stuff. And then you can go to BigCommerce and see how this stuff works and spend a lot of time researching it. Or you can come to our, let's see, we have an image in the alt banner, for example, and you can see how that gets put on the page. So inside the alt banner, we have an image alignment input, and then we have an image manager input. So I'm going to just copy this image manager input. And also while I'm here, take note of how it outputs onto the page. So image source equals, and then the name of that input .src. So this is where it's going to give us the source that is showing right here, right? And this is the default that I put in here, but you're going to be overriding that with whatever image you upload. Okay, so we got that into our clipboard. I'm going to go back to our widget that we're uploading or that we're editing, which again is this one marked image gallery 120823. And let's go down to our settings within the array, and let's put it first. You do want all this stuff to line up, and you need to have a comma and start each new input on its own line. So we have image, we have an input, and our caption, and we have a link. I mean, that might be all we really need on this, you know? Let's come up here and take out this source, and instead we're going to call this image.src, same as it was on that other one. Oh, it needs to be image URL. Image URL.src. Okay. Let's save that. Come back and refresh. If you guys are joining us late, we're building a custom widget on BigCommerce using Page Builder Widgets, and we're building an image manager. And it looks like I just wrecked my images. Let's see what happened on the front end if we inspect it. Okay, so we have image src and basically nothing output there. So what did we do? It's image URL. Maybe let's just change that to be image. See if that makes a difference. And let's see, we have image src equals, and then it should be outputting the image.src. Okay, well, let's save it again, see what happened. Let me know if you guys have tried creating a custom widget already, or if you use the production widgets or anything like that. Oh, and do you guys have any widgets that you want to see? You know, this is a good time. You're in front of me. We build widgets all the time, and love some new ideas. Love to know what you guys would like to see. Let's just take this. Oh, okay. Here's what's happening. Is we have a default image, but kind of like what happened previously, it doesn't really like some images that are put in there by default until you like click into them and save them. So I'm going to just change this to one of the images, and you can see that it totally saves now. Actually, I think this might just actually be a broken image. Here's the broken image. That's why it came out as a broken image. But yeah. All right. So we have this image. We have a spot for a caption. Let's type in, this is my capciones. Capciones. Okay. Now, look, it's given us this is my capciones, but it's also saying this is my caption. That's because we still have this is my caption hard-coded. So let's publish this and go back to our widget and scroll up to our HTML. I mean, I got to be nuts to code things live with you guys. What can I say? I'm going to take out the hard code stuff. Let me show you one other pro tip. So when we started building widgets, especially things with images, you know, you got to have alt text, you guys, right? And as a developer, I always forget to put on alt text. I'm sure you guys do too if you're developers. It's so hard to remember to put in alt text. So now I put in alt text, but we got to actually put something in to control that alt text. And when I started actually putting alt text in my widgets, I would give people a field for the alt text. And then I thought, you know what? Why why don't we just take this caption that they entered and make that be the alt text? Yeah, because why would it be? I mean, why would it be different, really? If you really wanted it to be different, fine, have an extra field, no big deal. I'm going to change the label on this to be caption/alt text. Yeah. All right, you guys, I think we are coming up on the end. So let's see how this looks. Come back to our page builder and refresh already. This is my captiones. This is my captiones. Let's come in here and put in a widget or an image in the second spot. Yep, there it is. Yeah, I need to use an image that's not broken. That's very helpful. Now, number 2 doesn't have a caption, so we need to put a caption. Let's say barbecue, yum, and link it to about. As soon as I put it in there, it says barbecue, yum. Now, the styling on this doesn't look great, and the reason is I didn't put any styling in it. You know, I just let this this span be on there using whatever styling the theme had, and your theme styling will apply to this. It's not like this stuff is in an iframe. So I like to start out by not having any custom styling in for things like font size, and then see what the widget, see what the theme does. If this is a custom widget, and just style the things I have to. So now we've got our image gallery. We can load up more and more images. We can put in text. We can control the alt text. We can control the link. And yeah, I'm going to change this default image so we can see what happens when we put a bunch more in. What kind of questions do you guys have, by the way, while I'm doing this? Is watching me code widgets the most boring thing ever, or is it all right? What do you guys think? Is this helpful? I mean, I would say you want to use responsive images as much as humanly possible, you know. But I mean, if these like image gallery images, if you or a client are loading like 2K images in here that into something that's never going to be displayed at 2K, like you should also just size your images, you know. Okay, so I just changed the default image. Let's look at this. I'm going to just take this out. We're going to drag a fresh one in. Now look at that. We have default images that actually work. We can put text in here. We can put a link. And what happens if we have more than 3? Well, they just wrap, at least with the code that I put on here. But you obviously could, you know, put in code that would maybe just make them flexbox or make them center instead of left align. You could put an additional, an additional option in here that lets the user choose how many columns they want, right? So somebody could choose like 3 columns or 4 columns or 5 columns. And what you want to do then is say, if they chose 3, then expose this line of CSS, and that's the line that makes it go 3 across. If they choose 4, then expose this line of text, and that's the one that make that line of CSS, and that's the line that makes it go 4 across, and the same with 5 across. We just put out a new image gallery widget that is a very reworked version of our original one, and it works pretty smooth, by the way. If you haven't checked out our image gallery widget in Page Builder Widgets recently, check it out. We've also been making some other changes. We've been putting in some new starters. So over the past couple of weeks, as I've done some new lives, building some stuff out, we built out the alt banner. We installed that as a starter. We built out the FAQ accordion. We put that in as a starter. I'm going to redo a couple of these other ones, and maybe we'll just remove them. I'll probably do a new version of text blocks And the reason I'm putting new versions of these starters in is when you look at the starter for text blocks, for example, you see that it doesn't have all that good starteriness that we've included on the other widgets, like the background and the max width and the margin. I mean, it's got margin top and bottom, but is it really the same? I don't know. Um, the starters that we have in the general tab, general array, alt banner, FAQ, accordion, they all have the exact same like margin padding, width, all of that stuff. So they're very consistent, and we want that consistency to be in all of our widgets, but also all of our starters. So even if you guys are just using this to code your client stuff, like we're just giving you a better starting point, you know? All right, what kind of questions do you have, and what did I not go over? Oh, we are rolling out a new configuration screen now. So we're going to have all these product cards. Before we had these simple list items. We're trying to be more visual to let people see kind of what if, what we're even talking about when we say alt banners, so that you can look at this and go, oh yeah, that's the thing I'm looking for. You don't have to guess. You don't have to guess anymore. We're also breaking it up into filtered sections, so you can see like all the heroes, all the carousels, all the image-based widgets. Just kind of trying to make it easier for you guys. Love to hear other suggestions or other ideas for widgets that you guys are looking for. We have 4 GraphQL widgets coming. Now, if you guys are light developers, GraphQL widgets might be a little bit beyond you. That's okay, but there's widgets that we've been wanting to do forever, like a replacement product picker widget, because we don't like the BigCommerce default one. And so BigCommerce doesn't actually give us the tools to build a replacement for that one widget, which is interesting. But we can build a new product picker using GraphQL to actually go out there and get the products. And so we've done that. We're just testing it, getting it ready to wrap up. And that'll be among 4 GraphQL widgets that we put out over the next couple weeks / 2 months. And that's going to be a big one. That's probably our most requested widget for sure. But hopefully you guys are jazzed about these starter widgets. We sure are. And as I mentioned, we're basically building the tools that we use to make better sites for our clients. And I wanted it to be as quick and painless for my team to build out or widgetize our clients' like homepage content and various things around their site. And so, we wanted these starters because this speeds up our workflow, and we're just kind of giving them to you guys, which is awesome. Or I think it's awesome. I'm hoping a lot of you developers out there are going to use these to make better widgets for your clients and to do a better job when you build out new designs and stuff. It's all about making it easy for the client to admin their own page. I like BigCommerce's widgets so much. I mean, I don't like their widgets. I like their widget system. I like our widgets, but it's so good, and we just need more people out there creating widgets. One thing we're going to be releasing here pretty soon, and this is why you're seeing the import export widgets button here, although I'm not sure if you can see it on your side or if it's just on my little test store here. You may be something that's coming in the future. But the import export widgets is going to be maybe cool because it'll let you take a widget that you build and say export it. And when you do, it says, okay, go ahead and download that file. And when you do that, it gives you a file that's basically a JSON that has all the stuff that you just built out in your widget. And so now you'll be able to take this JSON file, go to store number 2 or customer number 2, and just import it, and bam, you got the same exact widget you built on that last one. So over time, we anticipate developers building up a list of their pre-made widgets that maybe they use internally, or maybe they want to add it to a repo that we're going to make public where people can just push widgets that they want to share with the world. So if you build something cool, you'll be able to put it in this Git repo, and other developers will be able to check it out and see how it works, maybe use it too. All right. I went over a lot of stuff. What did I not go over? What kind of question do you guys have for me about widgets, about BigCommerce, about life, whatever, man? I'm here for you guys. The whole point of my channel, this channel is never going to be huge. Let's be honest. I am starting a second channel where I'm going to go more into e-commerce, like not general e-commerce. It's still going to be very e-commerce specific, but it's going to be not in the weeds on BigCommerce like this one is. But I've had such good response on this channel. I want to keep it in the weeds on BigCommerce because the people that are getting value out of it, there's not that many people, there's thousands of people, maybe more that are jazzing on this, but nobody else is putting this out here. So even though it's not, it's not going to be a big, massive blockbuster of a YouTube channel, I feel like it's helping people and it's helping store owners. And a lot of you guys end up becoming my clients sooner or later, which doesn't hurt my feelings. But I'm going to keep on, trying to create more, content that's bespoke to BigCommerce. I'm going to start doing some interviews with various apps, not apps that I've built or that my team's built, but other apps too. We're going to talk about some other apps that we have coming. And I recently started a new series on this channel called BigCommerce Expert Series, where I'm going to start going into like examples of some things that we've built for clients, for our stores, for whatever. And my goal with it isn't to brag about anything in specific, but to show people what's possible with BigCommerce. Because the one thing I hear all the time is, I was told it wasn't possible in BigCommerce. And 99% of the time when someone tells us that, we say, hold my beer, I'll show you how to do it. And there's so much stuff that you can do on BigCommerce. It is such a flexible system. And I know that there's another cart out there called Shopify, and Shopify is good. I like Shopify, but I like BigCommerce better. And the reason is I know what it can do. And I want to share with you guys what it can do, whether it's, small little functions or, sometimes more in-depth things. And within that series, I may show you guys how some of it was made if it's something simple. And other things, I might just show you what we did and why we did it so that you can envision like the possibilities. So that's the BigCommerce Expert Series that's here on this channel as well. So check it out. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to subscribe. I'm sure you guys all are if you're watching my stinking lives. But I'm going to put out more videos like that. And, those aren't as searchable. Those are more for the people that are following the channel. But they're there to show you guys how far you can push it. And I have a lot of that stuff to share with you guys because we love pushing the platform to do more. All right. Alex says, I have a question. How do I get rid of the BigCommerce branding on the default contact form in the merchant-facing email? There's a powered by BC in the footer. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I've ever actually tried to do that. I feel like it probably does it automatically. Does it do it automatically? There's a setting. Actually, I have a video about how to remove BigCommerce in your footer, and I forget where the setting is now. But I think if you set that setting, it might remove it from the emails as well. Let's see if I can find that setting here real quick. Am I still sharing my screen? Okay, well, let me share my screen again. Give me just 1 second. I'll see if I can find that. I can't remember if it's a theme setting. Sometimes I record these videos just to remind myself down the road. If nobody else is going to write down the answer to that question, I'll write it down and then. Okay, so you removed it from the website, but it hasn't removed it from the email. Okay, so in that case, I guess the follow-up question would be, are you using the new emails or the old emails? And let's see, the way to look at that. Let's see, where are the emails again? I've been doing BigCommerce for 13 years. And what that means is that every time I go to find something, it's been moved. Those kids keep moving my stuff, and where's my butterscotch? All right, let me find. Let's see here. It's not under there. It's not under there. Where's my butterscotch? Oh my gosh, I am like losing it. It is okay. It's under marketing, transactional emails. Wait, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, right? So this is how it looks like if you are using the new emails. It'll show email templates here. It'll have all these enabled. If you come into marketing transactional emails and it looks all ghetto, then you are on the old ones. And for each of these new ones, definitely upgrade to the new ones if you haven't already. Let's see. I thought there was a preview in here. Maybe there's not a preview. I think, you know what? I think some people have a preview on here and some, I clearly don't. But I have definitely seen the preview button here in the drop down before. So let's go to like the order status email. And sec. I gotta go in a minute. My kiddo wants to play some Legos. That's muy importante. Okay, so under email templates, you can click preview. This is how it looks. And there's go shopping. There is, I mean, I don't see it in here. I wonder if you have the old, oh, you're using the new transactional email templates. Huh. When you click on preview, Alex, do you see the Power by BigCommerce in here, or you just see it when you actually like get one? Which email is it that you're looking at? Is it one of these transactional ones like your order status has changed that you're seeing it on? I'm going to send myself a test email and we'll see if it's on there. It would be sneaky if it doesn't show in the preview, but then they include it when it comes to your work. Let's see. All right, I don't see it actually on mine. That is interesting. So you're using the new templates and it says powered by BigCommerce and I don't know, that's a stumper. Maybe you can forward me that email. You can send it to cal@epicdesignlabs.com and I want to see what it looks like because when I send a preview from this, I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it here in the preview and I don't see it in the test mail that they sent. So I'm wondering if you have a different template or what. Oh, the contact form. I am sorry. Okay. Contact form. Yeah, I was really going in a different direction, wasn't I? Contact form. So that's here. The contact form itself is a special template. So you're saying that the client gets a copy of the email that says powered by BigCommerce? Let's see here. Oh, look, I'm peeking over the question. I see you. I may have to just play around with that one. I'll test that out. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'll let you know what I find out. cal@epicdesignlabs.com. But I got to wrap it up. It's Lego time. I'm not going to step on one, but I do got to play with some Legos, man. So I appreciate you guys being here. Be sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see in a widget. We want to build out more and more widgets. We've been working on really improving our foundation and revamping like our widget cards and some of the styling and stuff in our widget and getting the GraphQL to work. So we got big stuff coming. So let me know what you guys want to see, and maybe that'll be the next one we build. You never know. If you guys are interested in working with somebody, hit us up at epicdesignlabs.com. I really appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate it. Alex, Rick, everybody else that was here earlier. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.